about security, global security, European security. Putin is waging war against the United States, against the rules-based order led by the United States.
President Zelensky is due to arrive in Miami today to speak to Donald Trump at his Mar-a-Lago Country Club. The pair are expected to discuss an updated version of the US-brokered peace plan, which came out a few weeks ago, but which Moscow has yet to support. And they're also going to look at separate proposals for US security guarantees for Ukraine. This follows a weekend of extensive Russian bombardment of Kyiv with missiles and drone attacks, leaving at least 2 people dead and over 30 injured. Well, joining me now is Oleksandr Merezhko, who is the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Ukrainian Parliament and a member of President Zelensky's party. Hello to you.
Thank you for having me.
How crucial do you see these talks due to take place between the two presidents in Mar-a-Lago as being?
Well, I would like to see it as a crucial change, but, I don't have high expectations taking into consideration all previous history. And maybe no outcome will be the best solution under the difficult circumstances. The thing is that right now we have a peace plan which is rather vague, rather abstract, but still it's a peace plan drafted by both delegations, American and Ukrainian delegations. And now the key question, what will be Putin's response to this peace plan? And I'm absolutely sure that he has already given his response to this peace plan and to President Trump, to his initiatives by ruthlessly bombarding Kyiv for the last several days. So it's a very clear signal that Putin has absolutely no intention to agree to any peace proposals by President Trump. And now the crucial question will be, what will be President Trump's reaction to this rejection? Whether he will keep his promise, whether he will introduce serious sanctions and consequences as he had promised before against Russia and Russian allies, whether he will continue to provide military assistance to Ukraine fighting against Russian aggression. This is the most important issue right now.
So will President Zelensky be asking for the United States to step up its sanctions on Russia?
We have been keeping asking our American friends for years about this, because, we can have all kinds of talks, but they're absolutely meaningless. They're absolutely useless when you are talking with Putin, who's war criminal and terrorist and who has violated all possible agreements. There are only 2 things which can be done, and it's the only realistic solution for the whole situation. First of all, military assistance for Ukraine. Second, serious sanctions against Russia and Russian allies. Because if we want to bring peace, we need to stop Russian war machine. And to stop Russian war machine, we need to deprive Russian economy, Russian war machine of oil revenues. That's the only solution. That's the only realistic outcome.
But as was said in February by President Trump, Ukraine does not have the cards. How worried are you that President Trump might try and impose a peace that is, wildly in favor of Russia?
Well, first of all, we definitely have cards, figuratively speaking, because we have been playing successfully with the cards we have for almost 4 years of the full-scale invasion. If we are talking about Russian aggression, Russian war against Ukraine, it's been for 11 years already. And Russian army got bogged down in the territory of Ukraine. They're not winning, they're losing. And if you look at the situation objectively, from strategic point of view, you see that Russia is incapable to win in Ukraine. But now, we need support of our closest allies and friends, and America remains our closest ally. I hope that President Trump will not try to settle the issue at the expense of weaker party. I understand he wants to be a peacemaker. He wants to go down in history as a big peacemaker, maybe to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. I wish he would do it, but it cannot be done quickly and at the expense of the victim of the aggression. We should always, and President Trump himself should keep it in mind, that it's a crime of aggression And we have perpetrator, Russia, the aggressor state, and we have the victim. And it's immoral to try to put pressure on the victim and to make it surrender. It's absolutely immoral. I cannot imagine that President Trump will be capable of doing anything like that.
He's not someone who really operates by morality, though, is he?
Well, he's a businessman, but even business, civilized business, has its own ethical standards. President Trump, at least, businessmen, they believe in contracts and agreements. They try to keep their promises and word because credibility is everything for business. And I hope that President Trump cares about his credibility and he cares about his popularity. He truly can become a great American president, but he needs to help the victim and to be on the right side of history, not on the side of the aggressor.
What would you say to the analysis which says that Ukraine cannot win this war in terms of forcing Russia off its territory, and that militarily and on the battlefield, Ukraine is probably weaker now compared to Russia than it was a year ago?
Well, first of all, we continue fighting. For me, each day of our survival, our defiance is a victory in itself. And it's been like for almost four years of full-scale invasion. Yes, it's difficult to fight, but we understand one thing, that no matter how tired we might be, no matter whether we receive or not receive support of our allies and friends, including the United States, we have no choice but continue to fight for our lives, our homes, our families. If we stop fighting, we'll be finished as a state, as a nation. We'll be completely destroyed, subjugated by Russia, and we'll end up in concentration camps in Russia, somewhere in Siberia. We understand this. So we will continue to fight no matter what. But, those countries which truly can help us to survive, like the United States, who have capabilities, it's their moral obligation to be on the right side of history and to support Ukraine. And it's also in their best national interest because it's about security, global security, European security. Putin is waging war against the United States, against the rules-based order led by the United States. And Ukraine is fighting also in the same coalition with the United States, with the United Kingdom, with Germany, France, with the whole democratic world.
Thank you very much indeed, Oleksandr Merezhko, the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Ukrainian Parliament. And I do hope it's a happy new year for you.